Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Guitar Souls podcast. I'm guessing here, but I think we're episode 48. That sounds about right. Because I feel like we did a 47, and I was thinking Agent 47, and I got that totally wrong. I remember doing 45, but I don't care. It's not important. I am one of your hosts, Mr. Levi Clay, and I'm here with my good friend, Mr. Mike McLaughlin. How's it going, buddy?
Very good, Levi. How are you?
Yeah, this is a weird one because we're starting the show like we are starting the show.
Arse
not
backwards.
Like we haven't just filmed an hour-long interview with Rick Dunsford, the man behind the Guns N' Roses leaks. Not that he leaked them, but the man that was banned from Guns N' Roses concerts for all time, escorted from the premises by armed guards.
Yes.
Armed guards. He's got a hell of a story to tell, so do stick around for the entire podcast and check that out, as that one's a lot of fun. But before we do all of that, I just do want to say a big thank you to our sponsor, Ormsby Guitars. Mike's wearing the hat.
Use your noggin.
His guitar is behind it. How you been getting on with the Metal X?
Just look at it, man. Just fucking look at it. I got a chance to road test it. So first time I got a chance to gig it was, so we were part of Canon were supporting cattle decapitation in Glasgow in the Cat House, and what a machine! Fucking hell, absolutely love it. This and the Rev G3 seem to just be like the perfect mix for me, because I seem to have this, I don't know, like sometimes I feel as if when you're EQing things you can get a bit pernickety, right? And I know that sounds funny for somebody talking about brutal death metal and being finicky about tone, right? But I felt as if no matter what I'd done with the G3 with this plugged into it, on stage, not my cab, I was happy. And it was just like, oh, that's good. Wait, that's fucking better. Oh, wow, that's even better. I was happy with it. And I love it to bits.
Yep. With mine, I'm surprised. Like, so I have to say this in all honesty. I say this with absolute honesty, not being paid to say this in any way, shape, or form. When we took this deal with Ormsby Guitars, it was very much cool. It's nice to have some sort of sponsor. It's nice to have a deal. It's nice to be appreciated or to have someone feel that what we do is of worth, that it's worth putting a name behind us.
Yeah.
So I
especially in the community that we're talking about, obviously being supported by a music brand, looking after musicians, and people who are in music journalism, if that's what you want to call us.
So I'm not going to say I'm well known for, but I try to be as vocal as I can about I play what I want to play.
He's a mouthy bastard, is what he's trying to say.
No, I literally mean I play what I want to play. So I technically still have an endorsement deal with Vigier Guitars, but obviously over the last few years I've bought several Maidens guitars, which I love.
Yep.
I play my Fender more than just about anything.
And your other Fender that isn't really a Fender but might be a Fender?
Yeah. So taking this deal, it absolutely wasn't about furthering a career in any way, shape or form. It was cool. If a guitar's going to show up, I'll give it a bash. I'll make some videos with it.
Totally.
And if it just hangs on the wall and doesn't do anything, that's not the end of the world type thing. I love it. I absolutely fucking love this guitar. It's got 7 strings, which isn't my thing at all. I don't play 7 string, but I cannot put this guitar down. It feels so easy and effortless to play. It sits so well. It sounds damn good. Feels good to play. I was going to say I love the look. Not all that important, of course, but I do love the look of it. I just can't.
You said to get that in there, didn't you?
What?
Mr. Custom Finish, one of a kind.
One of a kind finish. Honestly, like I cannot get over how good this damn guitar is. And I sent, you saw it, I sent Perry a message saying, all right, man, you fucking won me over. Well done. Like I'm already on the Reverb store looking at more guitars. Because the last thing I need in my life right now is more fucking guitars.
But it's fucking addictive.
It's just one of those things like, this might not necessarily be the Ormsby doing this, but it's always nice to have a new guitar because it inspires you to pick the thing up and play. And it's been the first time in years I'm sitting every single night for at least half an hour practicing. And I mean practice, metronome on, like religiously working on stuff.
Fantastic.
And this is, it's inspired me to do it. So huge thank you to Perry for that. And please do go and check out Ormsby Guitars. Don't want to gush too much over them. Don't want you to feel like this is some sort of paid sponsorship. No money exchanged hands in order for this. But I didn't pay for the guitar. So.
You need to be fair. It's a full disclosure.
Disclosure is important. But my point
you paid
is,
for the sponsorship. You got a guitar for sponsorship. You never got it for your opinion.
But exactly. Like I've been extremely vocal about this in the past. My opinions cannot be bought. And I'll prove it, right? So I said this to Mike just before the show. I love this guitar. It is incredible. If I had to have one complaint about it, I'm not overly insane about the jack socket. This will work for 99% of people that play it. I'm a fat bastard though. So when the cable is in this, it pushes up against my belly because everything pushes up against my belly. Right now, that wall is pushing up against my belly, so that it can feel a little bit uncomfortable. And a man of my size is uncomfortable all the time, so I can get used to that. But because it's constantly pushing up against it, I find that I loosen the the nut. The jack nut type thing, so I'm not constantly, but I'm having to tighten that every now and again. So if there's one thing that I'm not massively in love with, it would be that. But I can see that's not going to bother most people, is it?
No, when I got my first guitar, the Hype, obviously the jack sockets on the very bottom where the strap button would go, or where you would expect the strap button to be. So that didn't have any issues for me. But when I first got my Goliath, I had a similar feeling to it. But I got very much used to it and very comfortable with it.
Yeah.
And I think it's a well-made comment between people who have the Goliaths that they've said, not love-hate, but there's a couple of people who mentioned it, and I know that as a positive to Ormsby and Perry himself, that the design has been changed for future guitars. I'm not sure which run it changed on, some of the Hypes and some of the future Goliaths, to incorporate, to listen to feedback, and that's great. I like that.
Yep. So yeah, check them out on Reverb. As I say, I have been looking at one or two. I really like the idea of getting a straight fret.
The GTXs. I'd like a GTX.
Yeah, because I do love the fan frets. I love fan frets for extended range. If I'm tuning low, but a 6-string, I'm going to have in standard tuning, so I'm not needing the more range on the low strings. And those guitars are pretty. Anyway, I don't want to spend too much time on that because we've been doing this show for bloody ages already. So let's just plow
10
on.
years.
Yeah, several things to talk about today. Yes. Let's start out with this is an odd little story. So Indiana pub changes name at Iron Maiden's request.
Now, when you posted this, just before we go any further, when I read the headline, I was like, holy shit, that is rubbish, and got quite heated. And then I read more of it and I was like, oh, maybe not. And then I changed my mind again. So we'll go through the story and I'll talk you through that process.
Yeah, so my first, it's really interesting actually. This show essentially is turning into two guys that aren't lawyers act like they're lawyers. I think wrong. Just about everything we're going to talk about today is two guys that wish they were lawyers, right? So I assumed that when I saw this, maybe there's a pub called the Iron Maiden or something like that, yes. Right? But even then, I can't see that being a legal issue because Iron Maiden got their name from the Iron Maiden, which is a torture device, right?
Yeah, they don't have a TM next to it. They don't own trademarks or whatever. And that's kind of the same route I went down with yourself. It was like, that's a bit of a, which links in with a later story actually, a bit of a bully tactic by the seemings of it. That kind of, we are big, you're small, we will take dominion of this.
Yes. So, there was a bar in Evansville, Indiana, named Maidens. Now, it's worth pointing out that's Maidens plural, Maidens, not apostrophe S as in belonging to Maiden. So it's not Maidens belonging to Iron Maidens.
It's plural women.
Yeah, it's the Maidens brewery and pub, and it's now been changed to Damsel. Yeah, Damsel Brew Pub. I don't see the issue there. I'm sure there are probably lots of bars in the world that have got the word Maiden in them. Mm-hmm. So, what you say that you changed your opinion on this when you read into it? What do you mean by that? What was your turn?
So my initial knee jerk reaction was Iron Maiden are being assholes, and that's out of order, and blah blah blah. And that's when I went through it, and it was when you look at it and you're like, Maidens, and I was like, right. That's okay. I'm really confused as to why they would think that's a thing they could really trademark over, even it not being Iron Maiden. And then the further part of this story is them talking about how 3D Realms, the game developer who famously done the original Duke Nukem games, if you remember, I think they've done quite a few good games back in the day. Also had a bit of a run-in with Iron Maiden about a video game that was being called Iron Maiden. Ion is in like an ion cannon or whatever. Iron Maiden kind of went to town on them, and basically after careful consideration, as it was said by 3D Realms, they renamed the game to Ion Fury. Yeah. So at that point I'm like, right, maybe then it's a kind of intellectual property control thing. Maybe they're just being careful about not letting it slip. Ties into a nice story later on, of just like maybe they're just being cautious, right?
Yes.
The 3D Realms one, for clarification, they actually demanded $2 million in damages from 3D Realms. So that was a bit more of a heavy-handed, pay us or we'll fucking ruin you.
Yeah,
But,
I know where you're going to go with this. You're going to point out that there was no litigation with this.
Exactly. Yeah. So with the pub owner, the gentleman who owned Maidens, now known as Damsel Brew Pub, John Mills, he said there was no lawsuit, no bad feelings on either side. I think
there's bad feelings somewhere.
Probably.
Like, this has cost someone money.
Yeah, for it to happen, it's got to have been, right? But it's going to have cost John money as well. As you go further into the story, because this is where I flipped over, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know if you want to bring that up on the screen for anyone that's watching.
Yep.
But anyone who's listening won't see this, but I'll just describe it. Essentially, the Maidens Brewery and Pub logo is Iron Maiden's font.
Yeah.
So it says Maidens. There's also merchandise and like beer koozies, t-shirts, hats, etc. Now, it's not super blatant, but it is trading off the back of Iron Maiden.
Yep.
Like, blatantly. So I can see why they would go forward with, you're going to have to change that, mate. If it was just called Maidens, maybe you get away with it, but you are trading on the back of our image and our...
You are right. You are absolutely right, but also at the same time, I think it could easily be argued that this could fall under parody, because you can have an AC/DC shirt that said DC/DC, or what you put some funny pun in there using the AC/DC font, and if you're parodying AC/DC in their brand, you get away with that. The amount of companies that do parody Carlsberg shirts or whatever, like it's
Heineken, the ones that were Hanneman, etc.
Yeah, perfect example, brilliant example.
No, I think he was actually endorsed by Heineken though, because they're like, brilliant. There's a man who's drinking our beer and selling it to knuckleheads.
Yeah,
another
band we're going to talk about tonight.
This is just fucking lining him up, man. Straight shooter.
So, how do you feel about it now?
I think both parties walked away from it amicably. It's probably the only way I would really comment on it. I think, had it not been the case, they were using the Iron Maiden font, or the same font as Iron Maiden's logo, then it probably wouldn't be a story.
Yes.
That's kind of what got it for me. So, I know what you're saying. Like, if his argument was actually under parody law, this is why we've done it. That's how party can get away with it. So don't think I'm oblivious to this.
Why that wasn't an example that I jumped to.
Well, I mean, Toys R Us aren't going to come for us anymore.
Good point. You've outlasted Toys R Us.
We put them in the ground. I've been selling toys on Amazon on the side, and they never knew. Come at me, bro. Sorry. Anyway, yeah, if they had went with that defence, probably could have been argued back and forth, but there's not really much they could say to say it's not a parody, although it's nothing to do with comedy. So, don't know, shake a nail. Anyway, the fact that they are trading, Maidens Brewery and Pub was trading and making money from what is, and let's be honest, it's a very recognisable logo, then I can see why that litigation might have came forward, and probably why John went, cool.
Yeah, it's not worth me fucking around with this. Yeah.
But not just that, maybe he stopped... given his statement, right? He's not turned around and said, Iron Maiden came at me with a fucking mace.
Yeah.
Right? If it's amicable, and it has been amicable, maybe he's went, cool, a bit of respect.
Yeah.
The guys have went, right, well, we can't not do anything about it, but can we just not do this? Can it not be something that doesn't have to be?
Yeah.
So I'd like to think that would be the case.
Yeah.
What about you? How are you feeling on it?
I mean, I do see both sides. I absolutely do see both sides.
Totally.
Like this wasn't one that I thought was cut and dry either way. I thought it was definitely just an interesting one to talk about. Very interesting to talk about. I don't know if I'd necessarily argue that this is parody. I think actually the reason that this is probably because I'm sure I could be wrong on this, but I'm sure Iron Maiden don't own the font.
Probably not, but I would imagine they would have the jurisdiction to argue in some degree that is part of their image and therefore their
but they can't
public image.
Fonts are very interesting because they are designed by someone. Someone does own those fonts, and if you use those fonts, they need to be licensed.
Yes,
you need a license to use them in your design work or whatever. So it's again, don't know. It's entirely possible that at some point in the history of time, Iron Maiden have bought the rights to that font. I would imagine, I could be totally wrong on this, but I would imagine that the reason this is an issue is because Iron Maiden have their own beer.
The Trooper.
Yes.
I think they've got a second beer coming out. Maybe I'm tripping.
Probably.
I mean, as long as it's better than the Trooper.
Because, and this was something I learned in music business class at university, in terms of licensing and trademarks and the areas that you register your trademarks for. If you have a trademark for Iron Maiden and you register that trademark, it's not a blanket. You have a license for Iron Maiden for absolutely everything.
Of course.
You would trademark it for the use of on design on apparel and for CDs and posters and things like that.
Well, apparel comes under this. So.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I can see that. It's just something that always pops in my mind because what I was told when I was at university is it's very interesting when you think of the band All Saints. And the band All Saints?
Yes, and there's a chain of clothing called All Saints.
Bingo. And I might have mentioned this on the podcast before, but I was certainly told in music business that the reason All Saints never had T-shirt merchandise is because the shop, All Saints, owned the trademark to have All Saints as a trademark on apparel. So
surely they could argue that because they have a space between All and Saints, then it's different. I mean, it's probably a shitty argument, but
yeah. Definitely an interesting one. All I can say is I'm glad that there wasn't any lawsuits involved with this, and that everything's been fixed up. Head on down, go get a pint at it's on Wabash Avenue of Flags in Evansville, Indiana.
Great, and a very excellent segue you've set up there. Speaking of defending trademarks and licenses and copyrights.
I see what you did there.
Oh, he's got it.
Go on.
So, in another tragic turn of events for Gibson, they've lost the trademark to the body shape of the Firebird in the EU court battle.
So they lost the V one, now they've lost the Firebird one.
I think the tagline on this is what got me the best. 50-year wait to apply for trademark cited as contributing factor. What? Obviously, that's the main reason. You haven't contested it for 50-odd years.
Yeah.
Why would we turn around and retroactively go, right, cool, all these fucking companies that have built guitars have to give you money now? Shut up, you fucking loon. You've made it public because you've just let people do what they want.
Yes.
We spoke about this multiple times.
Yeah.
All the time. You have to defend these trademarks. You have to show that they are your intellectual property and no one else is allowed to touch them. And if you're lackadaisical about it for a couple of weeks, you'll probably get fucked. 50 fucking years.
This feels like coming home to me because I joke with people that listen to the podcast all the time, when's the next Guitar Souls coming out and what you're talking about, and I just, without even knowing what we're talking about, probably Gibson and TTM.
You could probably just go, when are Gibson going to do something stupid next?
Yeah.
When is Corey Taylor going to pass his opinion on something that doesn't matter?
I wonder what Corey Taylor does think about this. I'm sure we can give it a week. I'm sure he'll let everybody know.
He'll get his mask on.
Yeah. That is a hilarious one. But that's really all I have to say. And let's move on from that one.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be said anymore. Like, Gibson has suffered another defeat. Like, you know what it's like? It's like a Simpsons shitpost. Like, stop! He's already dead. It just feels like they're absolutely beating a dead horse.
So this next one, this is a really difficult one because it's very difficult to put into words why this brings such rage out in me.
I think it's the insipid message behind it.
It's very easy to be misinterpreted what I'm trying to get at when I bring this one up. Fortunately, I can bring this back with the other Fender story that we're going to talk about. It's a great example of something that doesn't even close to annoy me, right? So,
fantastic.
News story broke earlier in the week. Fender set to introduce more signature guitars for female artists next year than it's in its entire year history.
Entire 70-year history.
Entire 70-year history, yeah. So, and this was pushed very hard. Someone made fun of it in Guitar Boomer posting.
Okay, Boomer.
And that I should point out, nothing is making me happier than actual boomers trying to have boomer labelled as some sort of ageist term.
Have you heard it, like, literally calling it hate speech?
Yes.
No, it's not hate speech. When you call people other names and think you can get away with it, then it's the same thing, you fucking moron.
For years and years and years, the amount of people that have gone, but you're just a fucking millennial. Oh, don't like it when people refer to the generation in which you were born, you fucking boomers. And I'm just going to keep doing it now because it makes me so happy that it annoys them. It makes sense though when you think about it. It's just life in general, right? You're born, you're a child, your opinion doesn't matter. As you get older, there's that frustration that no one listens to what you have to say. And that's the stage that people would consider millennials to be in, but actually we've pushed into the stage where now actually we run the world. We are us and the generation before us are the ones that are really in charge of everything, and that boomer generation is now moving into the tail end of life, whereby you're now moving into the part of life where no one cares what you have to say anymore.
Yep.
You had your time running the world, you've done it, now you need to step aside and let the people that you've raised continue your work. Stop thinking you get to hold on to everything for all fucking time.
Else you will be dismissed.
Yeah.
With 8 beautiful letters.
Yeah. So I'm very sorry to any boomers that listen to the show, but
no, anyone that listens to this show is not a boomer. You get a pass.
True, because you don't call me a snowflake millennial. Anyway, so
hopefully they do.
This got posted in Guitar Boomer Posting, and I love that group. I do love that group. But there's a lot of groupthink that happens in that group.
Same as anywhere that's people of the same ilk.
Yeah.
Sharing opinions.
Yeah, the running meme of wife bad. It's so easy to just post. Anytime anybody references having a wife, the default groupthink joke is just to post it and say wife bad. It's a bad argument because, there is some history. There is, it can be relevant. If you live in a situation where your wife is constantly berating you for buying guitars, and you joke about sneaking a guitar into the house, right? That's a legitimate situation. If you're a 20-year-old unmarried person, you don't just get to go, fucking boomer, wife bad. No, he's making a joke about an actual situation that happens. That doesn't make him a bad person.
No.
At all. He's still married, and I'm sure they have a loving relation. But anyway, point is, groupthink bad. When this got posted, that was what kind of happened. It was a lot of woman bad. And the post that the guy was making was actually trying to draw issue with the verbiage that had been used in the marketing. It's all about guitars designed for women, and what he was saying is, I can't wait to see these designs and how these guitars are specifically designed for women and all the changes that they've made for women, because that's what irks me personally about this. These aren't guitars for women, these are just guitars for talented artists. What you should be saying here is Fender set to introduce more signature guitars for talented artists next year than at any point in its 70-year history. That I'd be like, awesome. But when you're pushing the fact that for all, look at us, all of our female artists, aren't we good?
Brownie points.
Exactly, and it irks me. I know it doesn't irk you as much as it irks me.
It does. Maybe not as much. It does
should
irk
irk
me.
the women. It should irk the fucking women.
Totally.
You're just being used as fucking tools. Stop. Be more cynical.
I think that's. I don't imagine the majority of people who will read that will take it positively, especially the women who read it, but who are conscious of today's political landscape and how everything goes.
Yeah.
But this might sound a bit stupid, right? And I don't mean this as like a cop-out or a dismissive comment, but I generally hold back on these because I'm pretty sure most women are sick fed up of hearing straight white men talking for them. I'm not saying I'm not an ally. I'm not. No, I'm being serious, right? I'm not saying I'm not an ally.
Is this where we've gone now? Can I ban the use of words like ally on the podcast? And if you tell me I'm mansplaining, that's it. I'm gone.
I'm manspreading. No, my point is people have their own voices.
Sure.
I'm not going to fight an argument for someone who might not want to have that fight, who might just want to let it pass, or who doesn't have the capacity to take that up.
Yep.
But if, like yourself, they're the person at the front holding the shield and the fucking sword, I'll be behind them. That's where I stand.
So you're not going to say anything until a woman complains about it?
Well, you just did.
I see what you did there. So the comment that I made is I can give you a great example of this being done wonderfully and making me genuinely quite happy. So
was it that interface for women that looked like a makeup thing? Remember that?
Yeah.
That was fucking ridiculous, man.
That's the example. That's when you see all this stuff where it's like, we're making more guitars for women than ever before now. You should be stepping back and saying that these are the same companies that think if we make products that look like makeup palettes, you're more likely to buy them. Be a little bit more fucking cynical. These are not people that are doing stuff for you. These are people that are doing what they can to try and extract money out of your fucking purses. You know what I mean? Because of your sex.
And more importantly...
That's bad.
More importantly, to me, the implication is that all the other instruments that they make for world-class musicians don't suit you because you're not a man.
Yeah. These guitars that are for women, there's no real difference with them to any other guitars that Fender make. They just happen to be being made for a particular woman, and she will be the person with the name on it, which is awesome. Like, I love the fact that I don't think in the history of music and the history of instruments that guitar companies have looked at people and said, "Oh yeah, but we don't want to endorse you because you're a woman." I hope not. I mean, Bonnie Raitt's had a signature Strat. Like, I'm trying to think of, like,
Jennifer Batten done quite well.
Jennifer Batten done quite well, and she's absolutely had endorsements. I don't think she's had a signature guitar.
No?
But that, I could be wrong on that one, but that would make sense to me in the same way that Cheryl Bailey hasn't had a signature guitar, but because she's not a superstar.
Unpopular opinion, and maybe I'm going to get fucking lambasted for this in the comments, right? But Nita Strauss got a signature.
I could go all fucking day. Nita Strauss is more interested in telling you about who took the photo that she's posting than she is about doing anything noteworthy on the fucking guitar.
I think it
but
was.
It's all right. It's all right because Ibanez get to go. We got there first, guys. We've made a signature guitar for a woman. I don't care. Make a signature guitar for a talented artist, because I can think of many more talented females, or just people in general, that are absolutely deserving of a signature guitar. It's all right though, because Nita Strauss got one. Coming to another photo shoot soon. Anyway, I'm gonna get off that one. So Fender have ushered in a new era for its premium models as the American Ultra series is unveiled. So we've got the American Ultra series. Now, they had been teasing this for weeks.
In the last 5 years, they must have had 9 or 10 different implementations of the top end of their new guitars.
Yeah.
It's I find it hard to follow. That's my comment. Sorry.
So I saw a promo video for this, and it was like a cut of all of the artists featured in it.
And they're all men?
Now when I'm looking at it, this is a separate one, and each one has been split up. It was the Jazz Master, and this was kind of like the main clip. Could be wrong on this particular clip, but let's. Yeah, so it's not this one. I'll have a quick look. Wife's calling.
Take a quick hiatus if you want to answer it.
No, that's cool.
You just need to remember to chop this bit.
Yeah, this. So when we look at this, this is the promo video for the Fender American Ultra series. Now, it'd be very easy to like, if you're a genuine like a woman hater, or you feel threatened by women doing things, it'd be very easy to look at that and go, "Oh, there's a fucking woman." But no, because if you watch it, she can play. She's a good player. It's a little bit of a bass player, more woman. I could be cynical if they'd made every single artist in the video a woman, because then it'd be like, look how woke we are. But when it actually cut to this, seeing the Jazz Master,
she fucking skills me, that's for sure.
and I guess what I'm saying is, if you listen to that and you think, or if you see that and you think, oh, there's a woman saying this, therefore I don't care, that's when you're an idiot. That's when there's a problem. When a company's trying to push something at you because woman, bad. But when women are just doing things, that's how it should be. That's absolutely how it should be. I like this. I like seeing this. This made me pleased. Also, because I know that it will upset some people. This will, weed out the people that genuinely do feel threatened by women doing
the boomers.
Doing boomers, yeah. Actually, good point. Okay, so
just saying it. Same. I'm just thinking.
Tell me more about this.
I actually lost interest a wee bit into this because I was like, oh man, Corey Taylor 2. It is getting that way though, isn't it? So I'll introduce it, sorry. So Rolling Stone reported last month actually.
Yeah. Well, this ties in because Rage Against the Machine have reunited.
Let's just reassess the date on that. That was 3 years ago, so I've just
But-
realised. Sorry. Anyway,
This still
It's
you know,
relevant.
you don't get to take this back.
No, I'm just context.
Yeah, fair. We're bringing this up because Rage Against the Machine have
announced.
announced. And I have taken we've taken pot shots at Tom Morello on the podcast before because of the teaching thing that he did. We got some flack from people that bought that.
Stand together, brothers. Crush the system and buy my DVD.
Yeah.
Okay.
Knowledge should be free for everybody, unless it's coming from me, in which case
Here's my expensive
you should
masterclass.
buy it. Also, don't trust teachers. I didn't trust anybody, but trust me. So when looking at the Rage Against the Machine thing, it's done great for them. Rage Against the Machine's YouTube views have spiked by 99% after a reunion announcement. There's a bunch of really excited 45-year-olds right now.
I've saw Rage. I saw them twice in 1 week when they did the gig in Finsbury Park. Remember, it was a Rage Against the Machine for the charts for Christmas. And then they played it download the following week. And I saw them at both gigs, and they were fucking incredible, and people were going wild.
Mm-hmm.
But I went to see Rage Against the Machine because I liked the music. I didn't go for anything to do with the politics or any of that stuff. Because, being totally honest, at that time, I had no idea about politics and music.
Fair.
Because I just wasn't interested.
Yep.
Still am in to some degree, but understand that there's importance in what people, and listening to what people have got to say and make your own mind up on that. But at the time, I was just like, there's 4 guys making a fucking racket, and people are going mental.
Yep.
And they're good at making a racket. Can't argue with that.
No.
Great entertainers.
I'll give you that, though. Profits of Rage is now over. I'm sure you've seen that.
I was never interested in Profits of Rage at all. I thought that was a scandalous money grab.
Yeah.
Quite honestly, it's like Queen going out with Adam Lambert or going out with your man for free. Just
This is
not
to
for
me
me.
too.
Well, I mean, it is.
When you're as successful and rich as a group like this, how legitimately politically angry can you be? Sure, there's things that are happening in the world that you're unhappy with, but let's not pretend that you're fighting for the people when you're millionaires.
Money talks.
Yeah. Let's not pretend that you are going to be going out wearing Che Guevara shirts and making reference to this old article where Tom Morello praises Fidel Castro as a huge hero throughout the third world. I'm not going to sit here and say that this man has a very backwards idea of social politics. He has, because there's no forward or backwards. He has a very
Unique.
I wouldn't even say that, because there are a lot of people that feel this way. He has a view that's very diametrically opposed to the way we lead our lives, him included. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally get you.
Especially when, as I constantly keep pointing out, this is a man that will happily milk you for all the money he fucking can.
It's hypocritical, the word you were looking for.
Yeah. Half and half. I wouldn't necessarily say that he's a hypocrite, but I know given the choice, he would push that extreme socialism, verging on communism thing. Here we go again with the Levi Clay doesn't know politics thing. Given the opportunity, he would push that, but he's a man that has absolutely milked the capitalist system as much as humanly possible.
It's done all right, aye.
It's done good for himself. Yeah,
Done all right.
Yeah. Certainly doesn't have to worry about money.
Think he's going to get a signature Fender? Sorry, you have testicles. You can't.
Yeah. So Rage Against the Machine, they're reuniting, they're doing some stuff, and I'm sure a bunch of our listeners will be super interested by that. I'm not massively interested by that, but I'm glad that a bunch of my pals are going to get to go and see a band that they like. That's all that matters.
The best thing I've seen come for this was, you know how there's that 4-block meme and it's Drake doing that and then like being interested?
Yeah.
And the top one is him doing that and it's Rage Against the Machine reuniting and my friends are excited. And then the bottom one is him doing that again and it's My Chemical Romance reuniting and my friends are all interested. And I'm just like, that is definitely me. I'm like, I've had enough of Rage and I wasn't into My Chemical Romance at the time, so
yeah.
Keep your nostalgia.
Yeah, I think I've heard like 2 My Chemical Romance songs, so they don't mean anything to me. Though when that story broke, Hayley turned to me and said, "Oh, My Chemical Romance was the first ever gig I went to," and I went, "I want a divorce."
Shady.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, couldn't care less about.
Could
that.
be worse.
Could it?
She could love Papa Roach.
Yeah, that is true. Oh fuck.
Has Hayley got a heartagram tattoo?
She does. She doesn't.
No, Nancy does.
Yeah, your missus does. So
Love her to bits. She's an incredible person, but what a terrible taste in music at times.
Yeah. It's,
most of the time at times. Hope you're not listening, Nancy, because you'll punch my cunt in when I get home.
Yeah. Now this, well, I was going to say this is the final one, but not, of course, because we're going to cut to an interview of Rick.
Yes.
But Kerry King moving over to Dean Guitars. What? How old is Kerry King now? Mate, your fucking career is over. You have milked your band to death. Literally, the other guitar player in your band is dead. You didn't milk him to that death, but like you have run your band into the ground through your love of making money. You are currently doing your final tour with the band. Could they do more tours after? I guess it's entirely possible, right? Now is not the time for you to be going, well, I'm going to jump to another guitar brand now.
I think he's been looking for a while. My sources to the ground have told me that he's been in talks with other brands for at least a year anyway. So I'm not surprised. Can I just point out that headstock is almost as ugly as him? Almost.
Yeah.
Jeff Hanneman is still cooler than you, Kerry King.
Absolutely.
Still.
Absolutely. It just, honestly, that's all I can say about it. It just, after this Slayer tour, there should be no more Slayer, right? So unless you're going to be starting a new band in your fucking 60s or however old you are now, he's probably, late 50s?
I don't know. I'm going to be a total dickhead. I'm just going to say, see, when Hanneman passed away, there shouldn't have been a Slayer then.
I agree.
I mean, that's not a knock on Gary Holt or who's the drummer for Exodus that replaced Lombardo?
He's 55.
55. Okay, boomer. Sorry. With no disrespect to Gary Holt, and forgive me, I can't remember the boy that played Paul Bostaff.
Yep.
Drummer. Credit where credit's due, they're both ridiculous musicians. Mm-hmm. I didn't absolutely hate the stuff they wrote with Slayer. I thought it was actually pretty good. Gary Holt's guitars are good looking, but it's no Slayer.
Yeah.
I know that's a hypocritical view to take as someone who loves Megadeth throughout the years.
But
all the lineup
Megadeth
changes.
is Dave Mustaine.
But then
Slayer is not one member. Slayer is a band.
But then you say that your argument is Kerry King and Tom Araya are Slayer, or one of them is.
No, I don't think that one of them is. I think that if you changed any one member of Slayer, it stops being Slayer.
So Slayer's Queen then? It's great in the sum of its parts.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Cool.
Absolutely fucking definitely. Because I don't think
I'm on board.
Anybody in Slayer is anything really to write home about on their own.
No.
But as they're not my cup of tea, but I appreciate they are.
You have to acknowledge
the
their contribution.
Greatest thrash bands of all time.
Yes, you have to acknowledge their contribution.
Yeah, I can't possibly talk down their contribution. But
how can a band that literally sings and writes lyrics about her war crimes and fucking the Holocaust and just horrible shit, war, fucking terror, pestilence, death, and have the most atonal music you could think of in terms of accessibility at that level, and they're still mainstream. So that's where the credit where credit's due comes for me. They have done incredibly well for what they're selling.
Yep.
However,
but yeah, I just come back to that, Kerry. You're 55 years old, mate. Unless you're going to be starting a new band after you leave Slayer, what business have you got coming out with not just a new signature guitar, but a new signature guitar with a completely new brand?
I've got it, right? I've broke it. You hear it here first, folks, right? Telling you. Him and Gene Simmons are starting a band. Think of the money. Think of the money.
Yeah, with those two business gurus. Yeah, I don't doubt it for a second that would be.
Was it said in Wayne's World, if you print it, they will come?
Yeah. Yeah, just... the artist that kind of pops into my mind is George Lynch. So in the past, I've done videos on the ESP catalogs. And
Mr. Scary, is that his nickname? I've never ever listened to any George Lynch guitar stuff.
Great player, but of his time,
and some very ugly guitars.
Yeah, he still has the signature ESP to this day, and it's I've made issue with it in previous videos. Why?
He's had 4 or 5 over the last 10 years. Yeah. He had the Super Strat with the kind of Celtic knots on it. He had the
baritone, the Forest baritone.
That's right.
The Kamikaze and
exactly. Now he's got that is it like the Relic Strat? He's now got a signature of that.
He's had absolutely tons of guitars, right?
And you know what? Wait, just sorry to interrupt. I'm quite passionate about this. Like, honourable mention to him for having one of the ugliest guitars in the world. That fucking skull and crossbones thing is disgusting. I mean, he's got some ugly signatures, but that thing is fucking revolting. But credit where credit's due.
The thing is, right, they don't sell. Those guitars do not sell. And I'm not saying that from a speculative position. They don't sell. When I was working with Lick Library and Jamie Humphries was doing a George Lynch column for the magazine, I always, where possible, tried to source a relevant guitar. So I hit up Selectron, who are the UK distributors of ESP, or certainly were at the time. I'm not sure if they are anymore. Is it James over there that I used to deal with? I said, any chance you can get your hands on a George Lynch guitar that we can use in a video? And he said, I've got you, mate. Got you covered. You've got one in stock.
Have 10.
Yeah, mate, we've got one in a case. It's been here for 5 fucking years and no one wants it. They couldn't sell it. No one would buy it. And it's an expensive guitar for...
Is this a horrible comment to make? But no wonder.
Yeah.
They are fugly.
Yeah. But if you're a George Lynch fan, you're going to see that and just go for it no matter what. Like, that's always...
say that.
We've all loved an artist that has a terrible signature. Well, okay. I love Brad Paisley and I fucking hate his signature guitar.
Honestly?
So, yeah.
Why?
Because it's like a silver sparkle.
I've seen it with as if it's been like rubbed off at the arm rub.
It's absolutely nothing to do with any guitar that Brad Paisley has ever fucking played.
I see that.
That rubs me up the wrong way.
We're going into a completely different topic here, but that rubs me up the wrong way as well. The idea that someone having a signature or like a retrospective signature.
Yeah.
Like, no.
Yeah.
No.
It's Brad Paisley, right? He's got guitars that he has played. He's got iconic guitars that he has played. Make one of those a signature model. Either do a reissue of a 68 Paisley and, age it like Brad's, or do a kind of Fender take on one of his Crook Custom Paisley tellies, like the blue one or the red one. Like, you've got options.
No.
But to go, we're just going to make something that's got a Paisley scratch plate on it and a little bit of wear on it, and it's the Brad Paisley signature now, and he contractually is obliged to bring it out for one song every night, and he plays it on one song, and then he gives it to someone in the audience, and then moves on to playing a real fucking guitar. So I brought up George Lynch because the one thing I can see with George, even years after stopping being relevant to modern music, it's obviously that his history is totally relevant. I can see why that guitar still exists, because these are the guitars that George played on iconic recordings. This is what you think of when you think George Lynch.
Yes.
But if Kerry's not doing anything anymore, who is the person that goes, you know what, I really want to buy one of those Kerry King guitars that he's never played on anything?
And that's a very interesting point to think about, because what has he got planned next?
Yeah, so I could eat my words. If he's got a band planned, like maybe a supergroup, fair enough.
Slayer 2.
This makes sense. But if he's not going to be doing anything after Slayer, and he doesn't need to, he's pretty well off. He'll still be able to sell Slayer merchandise till the day he fucking dies.
How's he going to afford all that jewellery and Jägermeister, though? The big chains, the sunglasses. Who's going to braid his beard? Who's got these tattoos?
So here's the artist quote. I'm super stoked to be part of the Dean Guitars family. This has been an insane long time coming. Together, we're going to create some amazing guitars that Dean, Slayer, and Kerry King fans will be as excited as I am to play them. It's going to be a wild ride for years to come. Kerry King.
On his final tour of his band that are breaking up at the end of the tour.
Yeah, just astonishing. Anyway, I'm going to move on from that. So these poor people that are listening to this can get onto this extremely long interview that we did with Rick Dunsford.
Yes.
Check it out. It is a lot of fun. Very interesting story. I need to go and get a knife and sever a testicle. You guys will see why while listening. So
I'm going to eat chili, and then I will say thanks to Levi for severing his testicle for us.
Yeah, no worries.
I know it was all for him, but I'm going to fucking ride the coattails here. Ride the scrotails. Terrible.
So here we go. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so yes, it is that time. We have reached out to Rick, and Rick was kind enough to give us some of his time to talk to us about his extremely... we've not really talked to him about what we're going to talk about, but I want to talk to him about his past, what his history is with Guns N' Roses, and of course the situation that happened with him just recently. Incredibly interesting story. So hello, Rick. How's it going?
How's it going, man?
Yeah, not too bad. Yeah. Where are you calling from?
Mississippi.
Yeah,
probably about 30 minutes outside the birthplace of Elvis Presley.
Okay.
In Tupelo, yeah.
It breaks my heart to hear this, because I was due to do a trip to America. I would have been there this time last month, but ended up having to buy a new house, so we had to cancel our holiday. So I didn't get to go to Mississippi. It breaks my heart.
Well, you're not missing much, honestly.
I think it's you.
That's easily said for a guy who doesn't stay in Scotland.
Yeah, I think it's very easy to neglect how awesome where you live is when you live there.
Mm-hmm.
But I live in Scotland, so it's not easy to neglect that. It's an old mining town where no one has a job. So yeah,
Yeah, I've got a job.
yeah. Anyway, so let's talk a little bit about you and your background. So you are a well-known Guns N' Roses super fan, shall we say? What's your history with the band? How long have you been a follower of the band? And tell us a bit about yourself.
Well, I was born in 1986, so that's about the time Appetite came out. So I was really young during that time, during their prime, and I really got into Guns N' Roses back in about the mid 90s.
Right.
I just used to watch their music videos all the time on TV. And this is before, you had the high-speed internet and you could find anything online. But, I used to watch this VH1 show and, just watch all these music videos with Guns N' Roses. And I think, like, the Terminator 2 was a big connection for me with Guns N' Roses. Because keep in mind, like I said, during that time, when I was like 5, 6, 7 years old, during this time, whenever they were in their prime during the Use Your Illusion stuff. So
Sure.
I didn't get the opportunity to go see them because of my age at the time. But in around the mid 90s, I was online. I started getting on the message boards towards the late 90s and started following everything about the making of the Chinese Democracy album.
Yep.
And I had tickets to see them in 2002, which would have been my first time seeing them. I had tickets for, I believe it was Charlotte, North Carolina, and Biloxi, Mississippi. And we all know how that ended up. The tour got canceled a week before these shows, so I didn't get to see them. And then fast forward to 2006, the band was going on tour again. I had tickets to see them in Nashville, Tennessee. And not kidding either, exactly 1 week before that show, it was canceled.
That doesn't sound like Axl.
Nope.
So at that point, I was getting pretty pissed because every time I've had tickets to see this band, it's been canceled. I haven't had the opportunity. So when Chinese Democracy finally came out, wherever they were going to announce a tour at, I was going to go see them. And they announced a Canadian tour for the beginning part of 2010. So me and my wife, who was pregnant with our first child at the time, we actually drove to Canada.
Wow.
And we went to go see them January 24th and 25th in Hamilton, Ontario, and London, Ontario.
How long was the drive? Sorry to interrupt.
The drive was about 18 hours.
Jeez.
So a super fan before you even saw the first show.
Yeah, and what was great about that, whenever I got to Canada, the guitar player at the time, Bumblefoot, me and him, we talked online a lot, and he ended up hooking me up with some after party passes.
Nice.
So it was the second night. It was in London, Ontario, and I got to go backstage and I got to meet most of the band. Obviously not Axl or anything like that, but but it was a pretty great first experience going to see Guns N' Roses. And then so after that, a year later, they announced a full US tour. So since 2010, I've seen them 32 times.
Wow.
And, so it would be more, but when you have 3 kids,
sure, yeah,
and a family, you got priorities, and you just got to make I try to make time to go see Guns when I can. Yeah. But it was 32 times since 2010 that I've seen them.
Jeez.
And I've always collected I've collected just a bunch of random things from the band. Like whenever the album came out in 2008, my local Best Buy, I went up there and I talked to I had a friend that worked there, and he ended up giving me the full display stand that had that held the vinyls and the CDs.
Right.
And then I've got the big promotional poster that says the most anticipated album ever. I've got the window stickers. I've got all the cool little promotional stuff for the album, because this Chinese Democracy is my favorite album, and it felt like half my life I was waiting for it. So
that's really cool. So that was one of the questions I was going to ask, because I'm not going to say we've got notable shit for it on the podcast, but I am very vocal about how much I love Chinese Democracy. It's not my favorite Guns N' Roses album, but it's definitely my second favorite Guns N' Roses album. I just think it's an astonishingly great album. So to hear someone say that it's their favorite, it just that really, really pleases me. What do you think, Mike?
I'm definitely on the same page. I love that there is admiration for it, especially by someone who would be considered a super fan, because generally speaking, when you speak to anyone about Chinese Democracy, that the impression is that it's pretty much hated across the board. So welcome to the team, Rick. It's a bit cheeky for us to say that when you're clearly much more of a fan than us, but you get the point.
Well, the day the album came out, I was the very first person at Best Buy, and I bought two copies of the CD, and I bought 2 vinyl records from Best Buy that day. And then later on that day, I went and got a Chinese Democracy themed tattoo.
Oh, cool!
To commemorate the release of the album. So it was a very a very special day for me. That right there, when that album finally came out, it was awesome. And also, a week before the album came out, they hosted listening parties for the entire album, and like a lot of major markets. So I actually drove to Atlanta, Georgia, which is about 5 hours from me. Yep. And I went to the official listening party out there, and I got a bunch of cool posters and shirts for it, and what's funny is on the way up there to Atlanta to the listening party, I was actually listening to the full CD already, but I couldn't see the band at the time. So I was just going to go to some sort of official event they had. So, it was fun, but
yeah. It's funny, like, because I actually remember when that album came out, just how little promotion Axl seemed to want to do for it, which is astonishing after 15 years. The only promotional thing that happened anywhere near us was just out of desperation. Vigier flew Bumblefoot over to do just one clinic in London, and I was like, right, this is my opportunity. This is the only Guns N' Roses related material we're going to get. So went down there, checked that out, and of course, it's Bumblefoot. How are you not going to have a great time? But yep, and that was when I fell in love with the Vigier guitars as well. So
there you go.
Damn it, it's all down to that damn album. cost me so much money. So why don't you tell us a little bit more then about what has happened more recently with you?
Well, it started off like last year. I ended up having the opportunity to purchase it was a very rare bootleg of the band. It was the Las Vegas House of Blues show from the year 2001. It was Axl's first show back, and it was his first time revealing the band to the world. And later on, it was supposed to be released on DVD and VHS, but it never happened. So for like 15, 18 years or whatever, we've heard rumors about it. And, so I ended up buying it for a couple of grand. The professional shot House of Blues show was Axl's first time back. So that was my first time digging into the bootleg world of Guns N' Roses as far as like buying stuff like this. Yeah. And then about back at June of this year, everybody knew that I was the one who bought the House of Blues and all this stuff. So I got contacted by a friend in California who told me that he was asking me if I knew anything about Welcome to the Jungle and Knocking on Heaven's Door from 2001.
Right.
And so me and him started talking more about it. He said he saw a listing on eBay and it got taken down, by the time me and him spoke, but he did get the seller's information.
Right.
And so me and him together, we were talking to the seller and found out that he had like 19 CDs of unreleased Guns N' Roses music from, 2000 to 2001, which is the music I've been dying to hear.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I was able to find out, that he did sell the actual original disc to another person in New York. I reached out to the fan in New York because I was trying to give him, so he could recoup some of his money that he spent on it, because I preferred to buy it from him. All I wanted was copies of it. I didn't want no actual disc or anything. I just wanted to hear the music. So, but the fan in New York refused to respond, didn't want to sell it or anything. So I went back to the guy who bought the storage locker from Tom Zutop. And, Tom Zutop worked with the band years ago as part of signing him and everything. So, the whole thing happened with, he had his storage locker and somehow or another he missed payments on it and it got auctioned off. And a guy in Virginia, I won't mention any names, he purchased that and sold it to a fan in New York. Well, so here we are now. The fan in New York refused to sell me any copies of the material. So I got back in touch with the original guy who bought the locker. And after persuading and talking, he finally agreed to sell me digital copies of everything for $15,000.
So there's the super fan again.
Yeah,
Wow.
well, I don't have $15,000 laying around. So, so me and a group of other super fans that you'd call, all contributed together. We did like a pool to raise the money for it. And before I go any further, I want to also state that before a deal was even agreed upon, I did contact GnR, and I did let them know about the storage locker,
Right.
And to give them the opportunity to step in if they didn't want it out there, because because I didn't want it to hurt the band in any way at that point.
Sure.
And and I've got proof and documentation of everything that I tell you guys.
Yeah.
And they never responded to me. And so at this point, it was fair game. So once the guy in Virginia agreed to sell me the stuff, I pretty much had to get in my car that night and just drive 14 hours straight to Virginia. And I met the seller at a Pandora Bread in some town in Virginia. And I got in his truck and he played everything for me. And I remember that was my first time ever hearing Atlas. And, and it's just, I thought I was dreaming for a minute because I couldn't believe I'm actually hearing new music unheard, from the band. So, I gave him the $15,000 cash, and he gave me a thumb drive and a burnt CD with all the vocal tracks on it. And, so that's how I got it, and then my sister lives in Virginia, so I just drove to her house and just got me a few hours of rest. And then I sent everybody that invested, I sent them, a track or two to hold them over until I got home.
If you don't mind me asking, how many people did invest?
It was about 7.
Okay.
Yeah, it was about 7, but so on my drive home, I get an email from GnR,
right,
asking me if I'm going to leak this music.
Okay.
And I told them no, I'm not, but that they probably need to call me because there's a situation that they didn't know there was a pool, a group of, this is a group funded event. So so I got home. They called me the next day, and they refunded. They gave everyone a refund, and I sent them the USB and the CD that I got.
Okay.
And so we got all that taken care of, but I know that they tried to work out an agreement with the person who bought the storage locker.
Yeah.
And he told me that he refused to sign any kind of an agreement or a deal with them because he he told me that his attorney said that he believes that he owns the music and that he can do what he wants with it. So that's the reason why he refused to take any kind of payment or anything from Guns N' Roses with it.
Yeah, that's definitely a very interesting circumstance, because I can definitely see both lawyers' opinions on that. The guy bought a storage locker, and what was in it was his. Whether he absolutely, I don't think for a second that making copies of it and then selling those copies, absolutely not. But the actual, the original discs that he will have had, or whatever he happened to have, I can't see any reason why they wouldn't be his to do with as he pleased.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he sold me digital copies. He made it himself, copies of it. So
that was the thing I found most interesting. When you said that, you said there was a guy in New York that didn't want to share them with you, and then there was another guy in Virginia that was willing to make copies and sell those. In this situation, at that point, he strikes me as the asshole. I mean, I'm glad that you got what you wanted out of him, but he's the one that is clearly making money out of Guns N' Roses here. That's
big money.
A lot, yeah. That's an astonishing amount of money. If someone said $15,000 to me for that, I'd assume they were joking, like just trying to get me to go away. But actually, no, it's not quite high enough that it's not outrageous.
No, it's probably sitting on the border of, if you could get the funds together and you were sold it well enough, you would take it up. I'd imagine that's the same for yourself, Rick. You're thinking to yourself, here's these tracks I am so curious to hear, as are the other 6 people involved. If we can do it, why wouldn't we?
Exactly, and I knew that if I didn't act on this now, that this music we would never hear this music, because Guns N' Roses doesn't have the greatest track record of releasing music.
No,
so
they don't.
Unfortunately, people like me have got to go through these bizarre situations to hear new music from our favorite band. So I mean, but what's real interesting about this whole thing was that I've been labeled as the leaker or whatnot.
Well, that was what I was going to ask. Do you know what the situation was there? Because when you said that Guns N' Roses contacted you and you sent them the thumb drive and everything, and also got the money refunded, it seems odd that they would then accuse you of being the leaker when they know for a fact that there are at least 2 other people that have this music.
At least.
Yeah, and I was and I told them up front the first time that I spoke with this representative of Guns N' Roses. I told him that I sent Hard School and Atlas to the collectors who invested in this, and he said, all right, well, is there any way, they asked me, is there any way you can prevent them from leaking this material? I told him there's no guarantee, but I can do my best, and I'll talk to everyone and make sure that it doesn't get leaked. So once GnR sent the refund my way, I immediately issued the refunds out. I know that it was the refunds cleared on a Friday, and then the next day, Hard School leaked on the internet. Mm-hmm. And I get a nasty letter. Well, first I get a phone call from the label stating that I wasn't truthful with them about who had what songs or whatnot, and I'm like, what do you mean? They were concerned about the song Hard School that leaked. And I told them that I informed GnR with their attorney on the phone. I informed them that, that 2 songs were shared with everybody that contributed.
Yeah.
And they pretty much denied having any knowledge of it. And, then in my emails, I've still got proof where they had knowledge of it and they acknowledged it. And they told me that that they are aware that people had 2 songs, but anyway, they told me that the agreement at that point was they had no more obligations to me at that point, and that they want me to pay back the $15,000 that they refunded me.
No,
and
no,
yeah, pretty much that was a big no for me because that money was the money was already gone. It was already refunded. So, and I can't control what everyone does with the 2 tracks they have. I can't control it. And then,
completely.
And there's no way for me to control whether or not the original seller was still selling or not, because he told me that he had people contacted him from Texas and other areas wanting to buy the material as well. So, and what was interesting about it was the original seller, he told me he didn't want no kind of paper trail. He said it had to be a cash only deal.
Mm-hmm.
And that was and that was pretty hard to do to get, because once everybody had to PayPal me money, and then I had to find a way to get it out. And because usually it takes a day or two to process, but I had to get it out immediately. To do that. So it was a little tricky, but I was able to pull it off though. But
that's extremely odd. So Guns N' Roses legal team, they know who the guy in Virginia is, because you say the lawyers have been in contact with him, or do they not know who he is?
Oh, they know who he is. 100% know who he is, and I even gave them more information about Tom Zutaut that was relayed to me from the original seller. That some real interesting information that kind of this whole thing involves a lot more people that are higher up in the chain, that that might have purposely supplied this stuff for it to be sold. It's that's what I was told from my source. But everything that was told to me, I did relay it back to GnR, and I guess nothing was done about that. It was it's easier to just have me as a scapegoat with this, which is fine.
I think that's what sticks in my throat with it, Rick. The fact that you contacted Guns N' Roses team before even making the purchase initially to give them warning, nothing was done, and then all of a sudden they want to be on top of you. Like, you're the one who's clearly tried your hardest to support the band in every way you have already, but not only that, to keep them in the loop that, listen, there's information here that you haven't quite done anything about. There's tracks here that if you're going to lay claim to them, then you have to probably do something about this. And they didn't. How can they point the finger at anyone else or scapegoat yourself, to use a loose term, when, as you're saying, they've got information on everyone else who's surrounded these tracks and the copies of everything, and the storage locker, and obviously the original buyer of the locker as well. Like, it just seems convenient on their part, if you get me.
I'd say it seems very, how would I describe this? Very Axl Rose.
Yes, very Axl Rose.
I try to cooperate with them every way possible, but like whenever there was let me think. There was something that appeared on the internet shortly after 2 songs leaked. It was some Japanese site or something that had a box set, a mock-up box set, but apparently it was just a fan-made deal or whatever. Right. It was the Locker CD set. It looked official, but so I forwarded that over to my contacts within GnR and let them know that I had nothing to do with what's going on right here, but I just want to let you guys know about it.
Yeah.
And the response was, "Why are you leaking stuff?" Instead of asking me, "Am I leaking it?"
Yeah.
They're accusing me of leaking it.
Yep.
And again, I had to go on to defense and tell them that I'm not leaking anything, that I've actually been busting my ass nonstop trying to figure out where it's coming from. But it got to the point where I can't contain it. There's nothing I can do to contain it if it's being sold by other parties,
And you made that clear to them as well. You said to them in your initial emails when they were asking, well, you've sent these tracks to the other investors, can you stop them being leaked? You clearly said to them, as you're telling us, like, well, no, I can't do anything about it. I'll try my hardest, but I can't guarantee anything. So for them to then start trying the bully tactics is just...
Yeah, it's amazing that this has been landed as your responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I wear it with pride, I guess. But
well said, mate. Well said.
But what's wild about the whole thing was, so whenever Guns N' Roses kicked off this tour they did in North Carolina, I had the day after the show, a friend of mine that actually originally told me about the locker stuff messaged me and told me, he said, "Yo, I heard shit hit the fan in North Carolina." And I asked him, I said, "What do you mean?" And then he informed me that, because he had a lot of friends that were at the show, and they were saying that the head of security and the actual manager asking everyone in the front, "Where's Rick at? Have you seen Rick?" And they were pointing at people in the crowd. Is that Rick over there? Is this Rick? I wasn't even in Charlotte, but so I reached out to GnR at that point. I told them that I got word that you guys were looking for me in North Carolina. I was not there, but I am coming to a couple shows here in a few weeks, and making sure that everything was okay for me to come.
Yeah.
I was never once informed that I'm banned, or I was never told not to come or anything like that. No one ever told me anything about not coming. So I just went about my normal process. I bought plane tickets to go to Wichita, Kansas. I had VIP tickets for the pit, so I could get in early and be on the rail. Once I got to the venue, I always take pictures with the promotional material they have. Nothing out of the ordinary for me. But so about 3:29 p.m., I've been in line since noon that day. So I flew in that morning, was in line since noon. Right when I got there, a friend pulled me to the side and told me that and I just want to give you a heads up that you're going to be kicked out tonight. And I asked him, I said, how do you know that? Because he's real friendly with the management team.
Right.
And then he asked me, do you want me to relay a message back to them, maybe to come talk to you or something? And I said, well, their mind's pretty much made up at this point. So, I mean, I don't know what good that would do, so I'm just going to go about my normal day, and just stay in line until it's time to go in and just go to the show. If they kick me out, then I'll make sure I get it videotaped, because, so while waiting in line at 3:29 p.m., I get an email from the legal team.
Right.
And they attached a letter telling me that, and the subject was GnR performances. And it tells me that that from this point forward that you are no longer permitted to attend any shows or venues that my client is performing at. And so save yourself a trip. I thought the save yourself a trip was a nice touch.
Yeah.
Them knowing that I was in line outside the venue already. So.
How long is it for a travel between where you are in Mississippi to Wichita, Kansas, out of curiosity?
It's about 10 hours.
See, because I read this when I was reading the articles earlier on. Levi and I were both, before we spoke to yourself, discussing what we thought was happening. You verified the story about the amount that was paid to get the copies that you got of the bootlegs, etc. But I think you'd made a comment to some other journalists saying that obviously that was a long travel for you, and that because you hadn't heard anything, you were quite comfortable going, but obviously they didn't even let you know, despite contact with you, or that they could have made contact with you to let you know beforehand. Do you think they've done that maliciously?
Yeah, and like I said, I've got proof of everything that I'm telling you guys right now. So, I did contact them the day after the Charlotte show, which was the tour kickoff, and I did tell them that I am going to multiple shows, and they never once told me not to come or that I'm banned. I've never once been told that. It was I feel that the management team, I don't know if it's just a personal vendetta against me or whatnot, but they're very angry with me, obviously. But like I flew out there and they sent me that letter at 3:29, and about 10-15 minutes later, their head of security comes out with 2 armed police officers. And they pointed at me. They say, "You get over here now." And I looked, I said, "Who, me?" And they're like, "Yes, over here now." So I'm thinking that we're going to walk pretty far away, to have a private talk.
Yeah.
Instead, we just walk a couple feet away. And I believe the tactic was to try to humiliate me in front of everybody in line.
No doubt.
Sounds like Axl Rose.
Well, and I looked up, and at first, I was getting pretty upset, but I kind of glanced over at my friend, and because I gave him instructions before I said, "Hey, look, if anyone comes up to me that's not a fan that talks, videotape it because
Yeah.
I just for my protection, So
Smart move.
at this time, I wasn't even thinking about any of that. I was just kind of caught up in the moment, and I glanced over there and I saw my friend videotaping the whole thing. So, I knew that I knew I'd be fine at that point. So, I listened to everything they had to say. They told me that I've been informed that I can't come to the show, and I told them, yeah, I was informed about 10 minutes ago, but I was never informed before I flew all the way out here or I purchased these VIP tickets.
Yeah. Yeah, that you allowed me to purchase.
Yeah, and then I told them, I even asked them, I said, well, how do I get a refund? And their head of security, his exact words, he says, count your losses and get the hell out of here. Is what he told me.
So, question for you: do you have that footage? Has that footage gone up anywhere?
Yeah, it's on it's on my personal Facebook, but it's also on my YouTube channel.
Okay.
It's the video of the head of security with 2 armed police officers. And they're showing me some papers. Well, one of the papers is the letter that I got 10 minutes prior in my email telling me that I can't come to any performances that their clients performing, and the other pages were pictures of my Facebook, saying that I was flaunting in their faces that I was at the show, which I was not doing. I was just being a fan. I was excited to be there to see my favorite band.
Yeah.
And that's all it was. If they could look back at my history of every time I've seen GnR, there's always pictures of me in line or pictures with me with the random promotional materials or whatnot. And it was nothing out of the ordinary of what I've done here,
It's posting stuff to your personal Facebook page. That's not flaunting it in the face of the band, unless the band are looking at your Facebook page.
I don't see anyone attending any gig or event at all they don't enjoy taking 1 or 2 photos, like not taking photos and not posting it on Facebook. Everybody I know lives online and social media, so to claim that that's you flaunting it in their face is wild.
This whole situation legitimately breaks my heart because I do love Guns N' Roses, but the only member of Guns N' Roses that I care about on any sort of personal level is Ron, and he's not in the band anymore, so I have no real need to remain loyal to that particular group. This story needs to be spread much further and much wider, and then it needs to come down like a fucking ton of bricks on them.
Absolutely,
because it's just outrageous the amount of dedication that you've shown to them as a band, the amount of money that you have put in Axl's pocket for you to then be treated like this is how do you feel about it, like being treated like this by them?
Honestly, it sucks because I've dedicated so much of my life to this band. I've thousands of dollars, invested just in random merchandise. I've got nearly 200 Guns N' Roses shirts. I've got like 5 Guns N' Roses tattoos, and I'm being told that I can't see my favorite band no more. It sucks, really bad, but I don't know how much the band knows about it or not. The actual band does, because I know that in the past that the management team has hid stuff from Axl in the past.
Okay.
And I'm not sure, because I know probably about 9-10 years ago, someone hacked into an email that belonged to one of the management teams, and ended up getting a copy of Axl's book that he wrote, and got a bunch of private information, emails and stuff like that. It's just really, really weird, honestly. But but he used that to blackmail the band, and he got $30,000 out of the deal, and it was wrote off as tour expenses. And he even told me that they had to find a way for Axl not to know about this.
Wow.
So, so stuff like that, Axl's been hit. A lot of this stuff is kept from Axl.
So you think
now? I'm sure.
Are you saying that you think this has been kept from Axl, or?
Well, at this point, too much attention has gotten brought to it.
Yeah.
And and Axl has to be aware of the leaks now, because they added one of the songs to the alternate set list.
Right.
So I'm sure that he's fully aware of it, and I'm sure that he's okay with the band, but I mean, I just felt like the way the band went about it,
Yeah.
I've never once been asked if I leaked anything or anything. I've been accused a lot, but I've never once been asked
And
about
you're
it.
categorically stating again for the record that you didn't leak them.
I did not leak
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
And so after I got when they were speaking to me outside the venue, they had a bunch. They were sitting there saying anything they wanted to me. The cops were mouthing off to me at the same time, and I just kept a smile on my face, just listening to them. I was very respectful and polite to them, and I was asking them. They were showing me all these pictures on my Facebook feed, and I told them that I'm just excited to be here. It's not trying to flaunt anything in your face.
Yeah.
I told him this over and over, and then he told the head of security told me that I'm done, and that if I ever show up to another show again, that I will be arrested on the spot. And they told me if I step foot on that property, that I'm going to spend the night in jail. So I walked across the street and sat on the sidewalk, and they even had there was a security guy, armed security, watching me the entire night, making sure I don't walk on the property at all.
Armed security watching you in case you wanted to go to the gig that you bought a VIP ticket for.
Dude, it's America. Of course
I know, but Jesus Christ. You don't need fucking mercenaries looking after you because you might want to go to a gig.
But he might leak something, Mike. He might leak something.
And what's the appropriate response? Shoot him?
Shoot him!
Fucking...
Well,
Jesus.
Here's what's ironic about the whole thing, though. Like, whenever I was sitting outside of the venue, management started emailing me, and they told me that, hey, we hate to lose you, but you brought it up on yourself, and maybe one day we'll cross paths on a more positive note. And they said, and his message to me was, surround yourself with positive people. And I was like, really? Like,
as he had you surrounded with armed police.
Yeah, and
I'd love to have more positive people around me and less guns, but unfortunately, why don't you send me some roses, because you provided me with enough guns for the day.
Oh man, that was so bad.
And but what was crazy is, like, the whole time I was outside the show, one member of the management team, like, probably sent me about 20 something emails, just going back and forth, throughout the whole entire concert. And, I just got to the point where, I had the flu at the time as well. Because this show was on, I believe, was on a Monday, and I got diagnosed with the flu on that Friday. So I wasn't going to miss the show. So I flew out there anyway. Then when I had to wait outside, it got freaking cold. And finally, I just took an Uber back to the airport, and I just waited at the airport for my flight at 6 a.m. that morning. But, I was surprised at the media attention that came from all this. But, shortly after all this happened, I know that they were really pissed about the video going online.
Fuck those guys. That's what I think of that.
It's one of those things, like, the media are always going to pick up on a story like this, because this always annoyed me back in the day when I was living in London, and you'd have, like, Guns N' Roses would perform and Ozzy Osbourne would perform, and all of the press would obviously review both of them, and Guns N' Roses would get a 1 and Ozzy would get a 5. Because Axl made them wait 20 minutes and then performed for 3 hours, and Ozzy performed for an hour and a half and performed terribly because he's at that point where he can barely sing anymore.
Yep.
But Axl put on a stormer of a show, but it doesn't matter because it's Guns N' Roses, so we have to give it 1 star because that's the way it works. We need to throw as much hate at Axl. And it always annoyed me. It genuinely really did always annoy me because I knew they put on great shows. But I'm now at the stage where, fuck them. Burn their entire operation down. You don't go around treating people like this.
No, absolutely not.
And when I was escorted off the property, what's ironic though is, like, there was another leak that happened during the show. It was the last CD of the 19 discs that have not leaked yet. So I was sitting outside on the curb, just I was actually talking to a friend of mine on the phone, and I get an email from their management, and they're like, they said something about, so now you're leaking more stuff now. What's your deal? You know? And I told them, I said, I don't have, all I have is my cell phone on me. I have my wallet and my cell phone. That's the only thing I brought with me to Kansas. I didn't bring nothing else. I have no way of leaking anything right now.
Just, I don't know how you're so cool and calm about it, because if I'm in that situation, I'm going to be like, look, guys, it's impossible for me to leak things. It's actually impossible for me to leak things right now. But I can absolutely fucking assure you, if I was able to leak things, you damn right I'd be leaking things right now after you've just persecuted me for not actually doing anything. If I want to be banned for your shows for the rest of my fucking life, I might as well, at least do the thing that you're accusing me of doing. But I'm not doing it.
Just to chime in on what Levi's saying, I was going to say the same thing. On a personal standpoint, well done to you for staying so calm and so reasoned with this, because it seems as if, from the interactions that you've told us about with these guys, they're looking for you to make yourself the scapegoat, to get a reaction from you that then they can go, look, he's toxic, or whatever bullshit they want to pull out. But no, you've handled this so well, and I hope you get whatever.
I would have been shot. I would have lost my temper in front of these armed guards. I would have ended up getting shot. That's just how that would go. But that would have been the best thing for me, because then not only would I be able to, my rage finally be put to bed, but also, more importantly, the negative press that would be associated with Guns N' Roses after their security shoot a fan. I'd feel good about that.
They've got a lot of negative press so far. That's probably the only thing they haven't done in this scenario that could make them look bad.
It's been 20 years of negative press, mate. It's, yeah.
Well, and something else too, though, is like a few days after that show, I get a letter from the label wanting millions from me, and I'm like, yeah, sure, let me go to the bank and get that out for you.
I guess that would be the final kind of thing that I'd like to ask, because a letter like that is inevitable. Are they, was that a friendly request, or are they looking to pursue you for that?
It was they sent me a letter that they wanted me to sign for, but I've never had the opportunity to sign for anything. But they sent me an email, and it was just pretty much asking me to, that I'm responsible for damages, up to I forgot the amount per song. I think it's maybe up to $150,000 per song.
Sure. Yep.
And I mean, there was nearly 200 songs in this whole batch. So, I mean, good luck. They're not going to get it from me though. Like,
you should have turned to them and said, guys, look, what I'm going to do is I'm going to quote your security, count your losses.
Dude, that's if I hear back from them, that's exactly what I will say. But so I've been having a little fun with this as well though, because whenever they played, and I had tickets to see them that following Sunday when they were playing in Manchester, Tennessee at Exit 111. I couldn't go. I was told that I'll be arrested if I go, so I didn't go. But I had a friend at the show. He was sending me some pictures, so I was posting them like I was in attendance at the show.
Oh man!
And it was like they were looking everywhere for me.
Yeah.
And
good luck finding me in my disguise.
Yeah.
Oh, keep it going.
So they played Vegas this past weekend, and I posted pictures from the Vegas show.
Yeah.
And I even had a picture of their head of security, the one that was in the video talking to me. And I posted on my Facebook, and I forgot what the exact caption was. I said, I'm right under their nose. This wig is on point, or something like that.
I don't know anything about Rick Dunsford, but if you ask me about Dick Runsford.
Yes. Well, so right there, this head of security for Guns N' Roses, he's employed by Guns N' Roses. He stood at the entrance both nights in the Vegas shows, watching everyone that walked in, making sure that he didn't spot me. So, I mean, there's a lot of effort on their end to go into this to keep making sure that I don't get into a show to see him.
Clearly,
which I can understand if I was being wild or disruptive or or provoking anything, you know. But the thing was, I was very peaceful, relaxed.
Yeah.
I was excited to go into the show. I wasn't out of line or
Giving them
causing any
thousands and
problems.
thousands of dollars. Like, yeah, it's one of those things. Like, if you had been the guy that had leaked everything, then it would still be extreme. I could still see where they were coming from to a degree. You know, sue you for the thing that you have done, get evidence and sue you for the thing you have done, but that's not a reason to stop you coming from the shows. To stop you coming to just none of it makes sense. None of it makes sense.
Well, if they had proof that I did leak anything, then I'm sure my door would have been busted down by now,
Yeah.
and my computer and everything would have been taken. The thing was, there's no proof of anything because they won't find proof that I leaked anything.
Yeah.
They will never find it. So I don't know. I don't know what the end game is here with all this, but you know, I'm gonna. I know that they'll post. I know Guns N' Roses posted on Twitter a few weeks back, asking fans to send them videos from the tour, and
We hate bootlegs.
that-
Send us bootlegs. What?
well, yeah, and then what's crazy about that is anytime someone posts a video of Guns N' Roses on the internet, they get hit with copyright strikes. And so this band right now is asking everybody to send over all their footage to them, I guess, so they could just do copyright strikes on it. But I did send them that video of them banning me from the shows, and I told them, I said, hey, I hope this makes it onto the tour video. You know, just trolling the band. You know, I'm just, you know, because like eventually I will be at another Guns N' Roses show.
Yeah,
and
no, of course.
If I go away in handcuffs, it'll be on video. So,
Yeah.
you know, I'll make sure to anything that involves Guns N' Roses at this point on,
Yes.
I'm going to make sure that I have. I'm going to live stream everything.
Amen
just
to you,
happens,
Rick.
you know.
Yeah, I'm going to, anytime they're gigging now, I'm going to be tweeting out and constantly, great show tonight, guys. And can't believe I managed to meet the famous Rick Dunsford in the audience.
I've got one further, right? How many people do you think we could convince to get Rick Dunsford masks? Or, like, you know how you've got that really horrible, lifelike fucking hood mask
freak
thing?
mask, yeah.
Right, so Levi got a mask printed with my face on it, but it's like a balaclava.
A lycra mask
Really,
that you
like-
pull over your face and it has Mike's face printed on it.
Yeah, so how many of those could we get, and how many people in the crowd do you think we could get as Rick?
With a Rick Dunsford.
It would start a hashtag, I am Rick.
I am Rick.
Rick too.
Dude, that would be hilarious because I mean, like, see, here's the thing though with this with the management team and all that. They have actually been really great to me in the past. Like, I've had nothing bad to say about them up until this point. But like back in 2013, the same guy who had me banned from these shows for life, he actually got me to meet Axl. So I've got to meet Axl because of him.
Yeah.
He's even given me Axl Rose's microphone autographed that was used in a Vegas show in 2012. You know, he's really hooked me up with like after party passes and just, you know, gave me pit upgrades whenever
Did the right thing,
you know,
for a super fan. Looked after you. Showed that you, had gave that much value to the band that you deserved some back.
Yeah.
What a U-turn.
But now, and my whole thing with this was I was just trying to help him, you know, and that's why I reached out to him in the first place about it, just to tell him that this music does exist. It was auctioned off in the Stores Locker, and I said this person bought it from this person. They had phone numbers and everything where they could. I've done all the legwork for them. I done because I spent once I found out about this Stores Locker, it took me a month really to piece everything together to get the full scope of what's going on with it and how to proceed with it. Once I had all my information and everything lined up, I wanted to give them a fair shot at it and let them know that this is out there and this is what's going to happen. And I did get a screenshot of it. I still got the message saved where it shows that I did send it to them. And they didn't respond. So, I mean, it was fair game for me. And, you know, I just felt like the way they I guess the way they've tried to treat me with it, I don't know. I just felt like they're just a lot of try to intimidate me, try to bully or whatnot. You know,
Sounds entirely like that. Yeah.
And it's just going to go the other way for them because, like, I'm going to go out of my way to make sure I tell every single person that I ever meet for the rest of my life about this situation, and I hope it spreads like wildfire. It just gets out there, and everyone brings that rage down on Guns N' Roses because they deserve it.
What do you think that everyone who's been involved with Guns N' Roses is thinking at this point? People like Ron Thal, people like maybe not Buckethead. He doesn't really have much of a public opinion, does he? But I mean, that must be quite upsetting for them as well, for them to see how people are being treated. Well, obviously, you're an isolated incident in terms of it being reported to your level, but
Ron doesn't have anything positive to say about Guns N' Roses. Full stop. So,
well, okay, fair enough.
No, Ron don't have anything positive to say about Guns N' Roses. I mean, he when Ron was in the band, Ron always took care of me. Ron was the greatest thing to happen with that band at that time. You know, he was real fan friendly, and he made sure that the fans were taken care of and got an experience, you know, which now in order to get some kind of personal experience with a band or whatnot, you can't buy it. Yeah. You got to be a movie star or something to be able to have any kind of access to the band, you know, like, cause as Aquaman went to the Vegas show the other night and he got to sit on the stage and meet everyone and bring his kids and all that, you know, but like bands that have spent so much of their life dedicated to this band, you know, it's almost impossible to meet them or even have any kind of interaction with them, you know?
Yeah.
And I understand the safety standpoint, you know, like, cause there are crazy people out there, but you know, I've met every member so far in the band.
Yeah.
You know, just getting lucky or whatnot, waiting outside the shows, you know, so I've met everyone and, you know, I've had a lot of great experiences with the band. But you know, I just don't really see, I don't really understand why banning me, what do they get out of it? You know? Cause I feel like they're not going to get their money back. So they know that I really love the band. So I guess they think, well, if we take away something that he loves, then that's going to be their revenge on me or whatever, you know?
You know what I'd say to them? I'd email their lawyers back and go, guys, I actually have to thank you because the thousands of dollars that I've now saved on VIP tickets, I could spend on even more bootlegs.
Oh, well, you know what?
Check the torrent sites for them tomorrow.
Oh, man.
If the opportunity ever comes up because last year, you know, I bought that the Pro Shot House of Blues, the first show back, and then about a year later, I ended up getting this massive storage locker by. Yeah. You know, if anything else comes up, you know,
yeah, you're all over it.
I'll be the first.
I'll close it up with this. That's how I know, why I believe that you didn't leak this stuff, right? Because so you're saying that you have a Pro Shot House of Blues show. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've not seen that.
Yes, first time, right? As you said, unveiling
I'd give a
new
testicle
band.
to see that.
You've only got one.
I'll send it to you.
Way, yes, please do. Please do.
No, don't say that in fucking camera.
I can edit that
out. Hey, at this point, what are they going to do to me? You know, like
yeah, true. They'll ban you from talking about them.
The only other thing I would want to add, right? If we're talking about trolling them, you could send them a link to a torrent site as if you've put it up, and when they open it, it's a Rickroll.
Yeah.
Because it's a literal Rickroll, because you are Rick. That would be sublime, at least for me. I think that would be fantastic.
Yeah, we could record a nice little metal cover of Never Gonna Give You Up, get Rick to sing it, you can do a little video. See how many ways you can Rickroll Axl over the next year.
Well, here's something else too. Like, here's how professional I would say that this management team is. That their manager was actually on Reddit. You know, a few weeks prior to this whole thing with me being banned happening, and he made some kind of comment on there saying that Rick has dug himself into a deep hole and that we will be crossing paths real soon. And you know, which, you know, I'm like, well, is that a threat or what? I don't really understand what he's saying here. But all right, well, so I assume that that he's actually going to be speaking to me, and I can tell him everything that he needs to know. Well, he refused to come. he refused to talk to me face to face. Instead, he would just send me emails.
He's a Reddit hard man.
The worst bully
Yeah,
ever.
So instead of approaching me face to face to talk about this,
Yeah.
he sends his big boy security guy out there with 2 armed police officers to a little excessive, I would say. I'm a small guy, I'm not going to oppose a threat to any of these people, but but I found out the most interesting part, that he was publicly posting about me and him crossing paths soon, and I figured, and I reached out to him and told him that I would love to have the opportunity to sit down and discuss the whole situation with him, because it's a very bizarre story, and I was going to tell him where everything, because I had more information about who is selling it, and it's just former employees and everything are involved with a lot of this,
Yeah.
But like I said, they didn't want to hear it. They got me knowing that the person, I told them, I said, well, where did I buy this from?
Yeah.
If because they told me I'm the only one that had this music. And I said, am I really? Because who did I buy it from? Question mark.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. It's frustrating, and I'm still a fan of the band. You can't, I don't know the right words to use for it, but it sucks, but I don't listen to them the same as I did,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that maybe time will heal, I don't know.
This is it's very much changed my opinion of Axl, and I certainly don't want to defend him as much as I have over the last 10 years.
Yep.
But it doesn't make me not want to listen to Chinese Democracy,
Well, I will tell you this much. I'm not really holding the blame on Axl right now.
Yeah.
I'm really putting the blame on Team Brazil for this. And that's the management team.
Okay.
It's Team Brazil, and those are the guys that I'm just really looking at as the ones that I really hold them responsible for the band, and because they're the ones I've been communicating with.
Yep.
Yeah.
And like I said, if they didn't want me at a show, whenever I reached out to them and asked them and told them that I'm coming to some shows, they could have simply told me right then and there, save your time, don't come. You're not allowed into these shows.
Yeah.
And that would have been fine. I would have been like, okay, well, I could get my refunds processed. I could cancel my flight, get my money back and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But instead, when they refused to give me my money back on my VIP ticket and told me to count my losses, I called the venue and told them that I was escorted off the property, told that I'm not allowed to go to any Guns N' Roses shows. So can I please get my money back on it? And they told me, no, it's non-refundable. And then they gave me a phone number for someone that takes care of the VIP people. So I ended up texting them and asking them. I told them I've got VIP tickets for tonight's show. I'm not allowed to come in. Can I get my money back? Told me no, pretty much. And finally, once that video got posted on the internet, and I wrote that they refused to refund me any money on this, then at that point, they did issue me a refund for that show.
Yeah. Funny how that works.
Yep. Hold people accountable for shitty actions, and suddenly they do the right thing.
Yeah, because you would win that one in a court, no problem.
So now with everybody tells me just to be quiet, just let it pass over.
Nah.
And all this stuff. I'm like, that's not the way I work.
Yeah.
I'm gonna sing like a bird and just keep it out there,
No, so you should.
And just and expose it, because it's just how big this band is. It's just they're so poorly managed.
Yeah.
And and this comes to show, that they're not really. They're just looking for a paycheck. They're not really looking out for fans.
Yep.
And if I was the one that leaked it, and then I wouldn't have a problem. Doing whatever consequences come with it. But thing is, I did not leak this music.
Yeah.
I did not leak
the way you speak about the band and everything that's happened. At least to me, I feel like it's clear that you are passionate about the band, and you wouldn't have leaked it. And if you had, you probably would have said so. The full situation is bewildering to me. I think it's outrageous the way they've treated you, and I can see why you would point the finger at management as well, for them to be so short-sighted and cowardly in the way they've dealt with you. You've tried your hardest to help them out. You've obviously had previous relationships with them before as well. As you said, management have been good to you before, so it's not as if you're some unknown person who might be leaking information or data or whatever. For them then just to start hitting you with cowardly threats and stupid letters and just shitty bully tactics is the only way I can call it. It's shitty bullies.
Yeah.
I think it's embarrassing, and I really hope, if it is the case that management are covering this up and the band don't have too much of a say in it, or they haven't heard much about it, they do get enough information to go, wait a minute, this is just not on.
Yeah.
Because
anyone listening now, get tweeting every single fucking day. Tweet at every single member of that band. And it's, get it to the point where even if they do currently know about it, get it to the point where they get so fucking tired of hearing about it from more and more people because you've got to remember that when you tweet about it, they're going to see your tweet. They might see your tweet, they might ignore your tweet, but another fan that maybe is unaware of the situation might see the tweet and look into it, and then maybe they start tweeting at the band member going, well, this really isn't fucking on, because this needs to be fixed. But I'm gonna stop it there. Rick, thank you so much for your time, man. We've taken so much of your time as is. We're gonna head off and finish up this show. But I will be in touch, and I'll get the knife out and sever that testicle and send it over for that show.
Hey, I will send you that show over here in just in a little bit. I'll get you a link to how you can get it. And if you guys need anything from me, just you guys got my contact information. Just reach out to me anytime, and I really appreciate you having me on the show.
Appreciate your time as well.
Thanks so much for your time.
Thanks for talking to us.
All right, you guys have a good one, man.
And yourself.
Bye. Wow.
True guitar soul.
That was that's just that entire thing is absolutely astonishing. I don't really think there's much that I can add to that situation that I didn't cover during that call, but
I thought we were maybe going to talk for 15, 20 minutes, but there is so much to this situation that's unreported or badly reported, or I don't want to say cover up, but clearly Rick's not had much of an opportunity to put his points forward and speak his mind and give all those little bits of context and the nuances of the situations that have been going on that are happily covered over or ignored.
Yeah.
I'll say it again, Rick's obviously went off the call, but my respect for that guy is super, super high. Not only was he calm and collected, he's took it in the chin. He's not letting them have any victory over him in terms of like upsetting him, and he's just winding them up and just like, well, fuck them. Like, I'll still like the band, I still like the music, but fuck those guys. 100% the best attitude of anyone who's been scorned that I've ever met, because I'm the same as you, man. I'd have been like, no, fuck you guys. Wait a minute.
I mean it. Like, I'm going to tweet every single member of that band. It's because, what is it? It's 2 minutes of my day just to feel like I'm trying to do something. And more importantly, if anyone wants to pay $15,000 for a House of Blues pro shot, I'm your man. Rick, hit me up. So thank you very much, guys, for tuning into this extremely long and interesting episode of the Guitar Souls podcast. I have been one of your hosts, Mr. Levi Clay. Mike McLaughlin, brought to you by Ormsby Guitars, as you can see on Mike's hat. Much love for Ormsby Guitars, all of the usual stuff. This has all been done in a very backwards way, but we need to go and shoot the start of the show now. So until next time.
Bye, fuckers, and see you in a minute.